Tony, don't touch that bread. It looks like standard sourdough, but it spent the last 6 hours sitting on the chest of a man who just died of smallpox. This isn't lunch, Tony. It's a biological sponge. In the 1800s, if you were a sin eater, your job was to eat the bread that sat on the heart of the dead. They believed the sins, the darkness of the soul, would leach into the gluten. You weren't just eating, you were performing a metabolic absolution. It was a social death sentence. If you were a sin eater, you were a pariah. No one would look you in the eye. They needed you to save their souls, but they hated you for the residue you carried. You were a walking ledger of every crime in the village. Welcome to God Awful History with Balthazar and Tony. Today, we're looking at the anatomy of a scapegoat. Let's look at the primary sources. In 1893, records from the Shropshire described the last sin eater, a man named Richard Munslow. The process was a forensic ritual. A wooden bowl of salt and a loaf of bread were placed on the chest of the deceased. The salt represented purity of the soul, but the bread was meant to absorb the putrefaction. Scientifically, Tony, imagine the gas exchange. A body begins to decompose immediately. Volatile organic compound gases like cadaverine and putrescine start to leak. If you place the porous material like bread directly over the heart and lungs, it's not just sins it's absorbing, it's the microscopic leakage of the corpse. The sin eater was literally consuming the first stage of decay. The worst part, Tony? When the sin eater died, no one would eat his sins. He died with the weight of the entire village darkness inside his own gut. It's a logistical trap. You save everyone else, but you end up as a biological landfill of misery. Tony made a song about this because history is easier to remember with a beat.
A bowl of ale and a wooden spoon beneath the pale and waning moon, in the shadow of the Shropshire hill, where the morning air is cold and still. The family gathers in a silent row, waiting for the one who walks below. A crust of bread on a dead man's chest, to give the soul a final rest. Richard Munslow, the last of the kind, with a heavy heart and a haunted mind. Oh, 1906, and the ritual is fair, eating the sins of the newly dead. One for the anger and one for the pride, for the secrets that the living hide. A wandering ghost with a borrowed shame, with no more honor and no more name. A bitter taste in the daily bread, taking the weight of a stranger's prayer. Buried in the dirt of the rattling old ground, where the silence of the valley is finally found. No one to eat for the eater's soul, as the heavy bell begins to toll.
please subscribe to us. And since Tony is clearly practicing his sin eating by stealing my lunch, tell us in the comments what obscure biological horror he should dig up next. Perhaps something so putrid it'll finally teach him to keep his hands off my archives and my snacks.